welcome to another episode of the Wild Strength Podcast. Today, my guest is Drew Miles, and his walk-up song is Seek and Destroy by Metallica. I think that's every so often someone will mention a song and I'm like, that's not really a walk-up song, but whatever floats your boat. I think that's a really good one to start with. But like I said, I have Drew Miles. I will let Drew introduce himself, and then we will get into the conversation and see where it goes.
Yeah, I introduced myself. My name is Drew Miles. I am the owner, founder of Tricer Tripods. Been doing that since 2020. I'm an inventor. I'm a Christian. I'm a father. Married for darn near 20 years. Got 5 kids. Foster parent. And just all around, I like to hunt. So I just hunt all the time now. Pretty much hunt for a living, which is pretty cool. Run prototypes and hunt stuff. And I like Seek and Destroy, making a shirt that says Seek and Destroy on it because, I know it's controversial. You're supposed to be like, oh, I harvested this animal. But I think it's so stupid because, literally you harvest grapes. You freaking kill. You seek them and you destroy. You kill animals.
Yeah.
So,
I love that. I think that's I think sometimes with social media, I do try to use my words wisely as far as I harvested this animal or whatever. But I mean, at the end of the day, there's a quote we don't call it killing, we call it hunting, but killing is the goal. And that's what we want to do. That's how we have to fill the freezers. So I think that's a funny idea for a shirt. Drew is the owner of Tricer Tripods. I think you've mentioned before, I met Drew at the Bow Disciples shoot in May. Shout out to James. He hosts that every year out in San Diego. And I think you even mentioned there, do you have multiple kind of businesses or companies that you've started, or is Tricer the first and the only one that you've done?
No, I've been doing all kinds of stuff for a long time. My dad started his sheet metal company when I was 14. I used to work 85 hours a week. So I helped him grow that from the garage to 80 employees. Did that forever. I just left there in May to go full-time doing this. It's pretty controversial, still controversial between me and him. But so I built that, ran that company for him. I got multiple patents across different industries. I've got a company that I patented a widget. Designed a machine, patented a machine. And now I'm on Tricer, and I think I'm running on after this year, I'll probably have 8 or 9 patents to my name. Just really cool stuff that does cool stuff. So yeah,
Nice.
I do.
Now, did you go to school for being business degree, entrepreneurship, or anything like that, or is that just something that you've always been passionate about and you just kind of hit the ground running with all of those?
Man, my mom's a drug addict. My dad was an alcoholic. He started that company. I had no parental. I was basically on my own from age 10 on. And I was pretty much forced to do sheet metal with my dad. Literally I would just get to work, go to work. He had somebody pick me up from school to go to work till 10 o'clock at night. So I go to school until 2, get picked up, high school, go work till 10 o'clock at night, and then go do it all over again the next day. So I didn't really have that choice or those things available to me to be an engineer or do that kind of stuff. Obviously I could go do this anywhere now. I've realized it took me, 38 years to realize that, wow, I'm different than most people and I can design some really cool stuff. But at the same time, that redneck engineering degree and being forced to, I grew up and didn't have a lot of money at all. So if I wanted to bicycle, I'd go to the swap meet or thrift shops, whatever, and buy bikes and build bikes myself, right? If I wanted a dirt bike, I grew up in a pretty prominent area in San Diego. They'd all have, this is 90s. They'd all have brand new CR 89, 80s. And I'd get a 1982 and I'd have to build it and work on it, right? I've always been that kind of mindset, right? My uncle built hot rods and he was one of my mentors growing up, and it was always been into that side of it. And just buying, I built a boat when I was 16. I built a 2-seat hydro race boat when I was 16 years old, bought the hull for $2,000, bought a motor, blew it up 4 times, but had to rebuild it every time, and that's kind of how I learned to do this stuff. I set the mind for it. I really enjoy doing it. So I don't know. I guess I could have went to school and got a job working for somebody, but at the same time, I wouldn't really change anything. I wouldn't change my life. I'm happy with my life. You know what I mean? If I did that, I probably wouldn't know my wife, probably wouldn't have had my kids. It's just, God had a plan for me, and even though it's not conventional. I mean, honestly, I mean, no offense, everybody going to college. Like some of my kids are going to go to college, but it's not for everybody. And
Mhm.
I'll probably smoke most people when it comes to by the end of my life and what I've accomplished.
Yeah.
And you don't have to have that. You just, what I find with entrepreneurship is you don't need a degree. You need hard work and a willingness not to quit. And like I tell people all the time, like the only reason I'm successful at anything, whether it's hunting or um, business, is I'm just too stupid to quit. Right? Like I'll make really bad tripods and then I'll, instead of like quitting, be like, oh, these are bad. My first tripods weren't that great. Instead of quitting, I'll just, get pissed off and keep making more and keep going and going and going. So, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I didn't go to school for it, but I'm a redneck engineer, and it works for me, right? I always tell people all the time, like, you don't have to be the smartest guy in the room. You just need to surround yourself with them, right? So as long as you have vision and a willingness to work, you can find someone better than you. There's always someone better than me in engineering or drawing or designing. So I just, surround myself with those people, and it turns out we create some really bitchin' stuff.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. A couple of different things you touched on. A, like you mentioned, school isn't for everyone. And oftentimes I find that like you probably found success earlier on than someone who would have gone and gotten a degree because they spend X amount of years in school. Maybe they even go on to get a master's as well. And then now they have to put their boots on the ground and actually get experience working on things versus like you started building things and working on things when you were young and you've had that hands-on experience all of your life. So I think honestly going to school for you might have set you back a little bit because you already had an idea of where you wanted to go. You already had experience doing some of those things. Whereas the very conventional route is you go to school because you don't have the experience and you're hoping to learn how to get the experience. And I don't know that school necessarily teaches you that either. So you definitely, I would say, not maybe not that necessarily one is better than the other, but like you said, you did what worked for you and everything's worked out. And why would you go back and like wish that you did things differently? And then, yeah, I agree. I think just to continually be the hardest working person and surround yourself with people who know more than you. And that was really a big goal in the podcast is like I'm still super new to hunting. This is only my third season and then my second season out west. And like I actually had someone the other day who had found me, I think on like TikTok or something, and they were like, "Oh my god, I thought like you're this big person." And I'm like, I hope that I don't come off that way because I'm still learning. And my intent with the podcast is to have people on who are way smarter than me, who know more than me, who have way more experience than me, so that I can help share their information so other people can learn, but also so I can learn myself because I mean, I hope I never get to a point where I know everything, but I've been very fortunate to meet people who, yeah, are way smarter than I could ever be and way more knowledgeable in hunting in the outdoors than I could ever be. And the fact that they're willing to share some of that information is really cool too.
Yeah, and I mean, I know people are going to get offended because a lot of people, once you pay for a college degree, you kind of feel like you have to defend it. I think college is really good at making great employees,
Mm-hmm.
right? And like what I tell my kids all the time is you shouldn't be an employee because you're either going to make someone else money or you're going to make yourself money. You're not going to have freedom, right? Like I have the coolest job in the world. I literally, I don't know, I've been out 3 days this week already. I've been in the range 3 times this week. Way Wyoming next. I'm gonna probably hunt 100 days this year, and no one can tell me I can't. It's part of my job, right? Like I just set my life up that way. And a lot of times when you get a degree, it kind of forces you into school. And the same thing, when we homeschool all of our kids, we're Christians. Like there's a system in place to kind of just like set you up to make it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like you look at like this liberal school system where it's just like they're trying to just indoctrinate you to be a good employee, but not teaching you how to like manage finances or manage business or do these things. I mean, honestly, those who can't teach, no offense, again, you know what I mean? Like, don't tell me how to run a business. Like, you need to do this, and this, and this, dude. Just, like, there's no playbook for starting a company like Tricer or starting any company I've ever done. Like, there's no playbook for it. You can like read as many books as you want, but it just like literally it's just grit and a willingness to freaking get pissed off and keep going, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm not gonna, I mean, like, you're going to be a doctor, please go to school. You're going to be a lawyer. Like, my son wants to be a lawyer. He wants to go into politics. I don't know why, but I'm going to pay for him to go to school, right? Like, I never had that opportunity. Like I said earlier, like I said, my mom's a drug addict, dad's alcoholic, and just no one cared. Like, I literally was on my own. My dad moved out when I was like 16. Like, I just had my own house. Like, I'm just been on my own my whole life, and I learned the hard way, right? Like, I've never really got to be a kid. I really didn't become myself the last couple. Like, people think I'm funny now, but like I never got to be that until I was like probably mid 30s. It took me a lot of counseling and a lot of working with my mentor was my church staff pastor, or I mean, staff counselor, right? He just passed away 2 years ago. But I took 10 years of meeting with this guy to kind of like learn who I actually was, but I don't know where I'm going with that other than, dude, you, you live in the greatest country in the world. I don't care politics aside. I don't care who's in office. Like, if freaking some dorks are in office like they are right now, and or Trump's in office, like, no matter what, someone's going to make money. It might as well be you. Like, don't be stifled by that. Don't be limited by like, well, I didn't go to college or my parents suck. Dude, just like outwork everyone. And that's what I tell my kids all the time. Like, we grow up with this time right now where there's all these freaking just pansy soft men and women and just people who just complain and bitch and want everything paid for. But the real world doesn't work that way. Capitalism doesn't work that way. And I think it's such an opportunity right now for people, especially young adults, people in their 20s, people in their teens. If you are willing to work, you can rule the world. I'm not like, if people who want everything given to them and they're entitled and they want to come in and be a manager and other stuff, like, no, man, like, just be hardworking and those guys will work for you. There's a very real lack of work ethic right now in America. And it's such an opportunity for so many kids to dominate.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think, yeah, that's why people come to America. And I think being here, we don't appreciate it nearly as much. But I've got people, followers or listeners who are in other countries. And there's one girl that comes to mind specifically. She's in, I believe, the United Kingdom. And like they can't hunt where she's at. So she is always envious. Like she's a barebow archer, and she's always shooting her bow, and she's big into training and stuff. And she came to this United States for the first time this year, and then when she went back, she messaged me and was like, "You live in the best country. Like, don't take it for granted. Like, there's so much that you can do there, and that I wish that I lived there, and that I could do all the things that you guys are so lucky to do." And I don't think you think about it until you kind of hear that perspective of that we can literally start our own businesses. We can get out there and do really whatever we want. And yeah, I think a lot of folks take that for granted. And I think it's super cool, the mindset that you have. You kind of come from not a great background, but to be able to flip that around and make something of that. Like, I have the utmost respect for people who do that, because I've always said I don't get along with people who have not experienced some sort of like trauma or bad upbringing or whatever. Because when you just had everything handed to you, you begin to think that that's how the rest of life works, right? If you never had to work hard for anything that you have in your life, that's typically how the mindset you'll have moving forward throughout your adulthood. And those same people, like you said, are the ones who maybe like you don't necessarily have to like start a business, but I think those same people get comfortable and yeah, they want everything handed to them. They want everything for free. And that's just unfortunately not how you go far in life. You might be able to get a little bit of success there, but it's definitely not how you can succeed in the long haul, in my opinion.
Yeah, it goes with everything too. It's not just the just work as well. Everyone's a victim. Everyone's like, "Oh, my mom sucked," or "My this." Like, dude, like I'm telling you, I'll go toe to toe with you on stories. Like, I have a Jerry Springer life of just suicides and deaths and abuse and just the gnarliest childhood, and just my whole family is screwed up. And so many people just fall into this like, well, I'm just going to be a screw up now. Like one thing my family's like, I have an aunt who I love. This is like my mom, right? Me and my mom don't have a great relationship. I talk to her a little bit here and there, but she's still at 60 years old, cheating on her husband, just a terrible person. She's a very beautiful woman, but that's just been her detriment, right? She's just beautiful and just goes guy to guy and just is terrible. So my aunt would always tell me, like, you have every excuse to be a screw up. And I look back now, I'm like, that's a pretty damn bad thing to say to somebody. But that's how people looked at me, like, oh, and that's how people feel, like, oh, my dad was this way, so I'm going to be that way, right? Or like, I'm going to be, my parents are bad parents, like, and it's like, man, I got saved when I was 19. Like, I was the most unforgiving person you ever met in your life coming through high school. I got in fist fights, all the time. I mean, I was violent. I was bad. I was doing drugs. My wife got pregnant when I was 19 years old, and we were in Hawaii, and she's like, I think I'm pregnant. And my first reaction was like, are we going to keep it? Right? Like, I was an atheist. I had my whole world planned ahead of me. I wanted to be rich and travel and do all this stuff. And she says to me, well, I'm a Christian. and I don't believe in abortion. And this is the first time in my life, we've been together for 3 years at this point, right? We've been together since '03. That she's told me she's a Christian. she's not a Christian. Like, well, that's really awkward. She took me to church and I, it was an Easter service in 2006. And, we left there and I went home and I said, well, if we're going to do this, I'm going to be Catholic. My family was Catholic. No offense to Catholics. I'm just glad I didn't do it. And then we started going back like every week. And like, it took me a long time to get good and saved. But man, it just changed my life and God came in my life. And, I went from being like, I don't recognize who I am today compared to who I was then. I have a hard time even telling my testimony now. Like, it just isn't like, it used to be so raw. Like when you're in the moment and you're coming out of something like that, it's so raw when you come out of abuse and just, like parents should never treat their kids the way my parents treated me. Right.
Mm.
And like, it's hard to escape from that. But man, like when I found God and my life changed. I ended up doing a year of Bible college. I wanted to go into full-time ministry. I'm still in ministries like 3 days a week now. And, all of our package has scriptures on it. I'm like unapologetically Christian. Like if you don't like it, man, don't listen to me. You know what I mean? I'm telling you right now, like I came out with like 15 new products this year. It's because of God. Like the way my mind works the way it does. And I'm 100% convinced it's because God has given me an innovative mind and he just blesses everything we do. We give a percentage of all of our sales, gross profit to my foster ministry here in San Diego. And that's just really what changed my life. Where was I going with that? Yeah, man, that's it. Just, you don't have to, you're not a product. That's where I'm going. Like, you don't have to be a product of your childhood, right? Which I feel like some people are. I mean, there's so many people who are 50 years old who still have daddy issues and mommy issues. And I get it, man. There's people who have had way worse lives than me, who have been sexually abused and beaten. We're foster parents, right? Like I run the largest foster ministry in San Diego now, board president of it. And, I see kids with broken hips and burnt cigarettes, and they could go through that, but they don't have to be a victim. They can change their life and they can go on. And my point with all that is like, even though my parents sucked and they got divorced and they went through all this stuff, like, dude, like I can be the generational change. You can be a generational change for your family. Like my children, like when they go to counseling someday, it's going to be like, oh, my dad made me clean my room. You know what I mean? Like, I was joking the other day. I'm like, these kids are still there. There's still victims, and they live in the greatest house in the world, right? Not greatest house, but I mean, I still screw up. I still get mad. I still yell at them. But like you could be that generational change if you're willing to put in the work. And then like my kids are so shielded from that. And they've grown up in the church, and they've grown up with me and my wife. Like, we have a phenomenal marriage. We travel together and we go to dates every week, and we work together. We homeschool all these kids together. It's so different than the way I grew up. And like, that's incredible. And like, you could be the change. I encourage you to be the change for your children that your parents weren't for you. And like, all my insecurities, like all my wife's insecurities, like my daughter is 13 years old. No joke. She's like the most popular girl in junior high. Like she's the most beautiful thing God ever made. And she's the most confident girl. Like, I mean, she's got the best head on her shoulders. Every boy wants to date her. She doesn't want to date her. She's 18. Like every boy wants to be around her. You see her and she's got 10 girls around her all the time. And it's because she exudes confidence and leadership that she's had just being in a secure home, right? Like when my wife was going to school, like she had dealt with some stuff and like, dealt with abuse and these things. And like, she didn't have that. And there's a lot of insecurities there. And my daughter doesn't have any of that. And my kids don't have any of that. My kids are so confident. It's shocking how terrible they are at sports and terrible they are at things. They're so confident because they don't know. Like they don't, part of that is just homeschooling your kids and being around them, right? Like getting them to be raised by me and my wife rather than getting raised by a bunch of stupid kids who are going through stupid crap. You're a product of the people you're around, right? So my kids are very mature in that way, and they're confident, and it's just great to see my children breaking that curse being broken by me and my wife, and like them going forward, like they're going to have great marriages, and like how much better is their marriage going to be than mine and my wife's marriage, right? How much better are their children going to be than my children, right? And it's just, you could be that change is my point. Like you don't have to be stuck in that rut. You don't have to be stuck in, you're not a product of your upbringing, right? You're a product of God. Make the change. Sorry.
Yeah, I love that.
Preaching.
No,
Get me preaching,
no,
man.
I love that so much, and I have like chills as you kind of talk about that. And I love that you're so open. That was kind of one thing that I want to talk about, and you did dive into it. Is you're very open about your faith and your Christianity, and like I think I admire that, because I think once people start making money, once people start having big names, even if they are pretty big in their faith, they don't openly talk about it or openly show that, because they might lose a whole crowd of people if they do that. And so I think it's really cool and admirable that that's something that you don't shy away from, no matter if you have the biggest company in the world or not. And yeah, I think that's really cool. And like for me personally, like my story and my faith has just changed throughout my life. And like, I kind of went through a part of my life where I didn't believe because of things that had happened. Like I experienced a lot of loss early on, and it was like, who is this God that we speak of, and why would you take away someone away? Like, why would you take
Mm-hmm.
all these people out of my life if you're real, and all these things that are going on? And I'm in a place in my life now where like I'm growing in my relationship with God and in my faith. And so it's like really cool to see someone like you who is successful, and you're openly talking about it. And even just for someone who maybe they're new to hunting, or maybe they've been hunting all their life and they've never even considered whether you use spirituality, your religion, or your faith, whatever word you want to use. Like maybe people see that you're so open about it, and how the life that you're living, and the confidence that you exude and that your kids exude. And I think that's setting a really cool and a really great example for a lot of people.
Yeah, you can't separate the two. I feel like we're in this time where everyone, like, I joke around in my Tricer meetings, we have marketing meetings, and I'm like trying to get canceled since 2020. Like you can't care about what a small majority of people say and allow them to stifle what you believe, right? Like it's just not okay to do that. And I think the world is refreshed from like someone like Dave Chappelle who comes out and like says jokes, right? Like, oh my gosh, you can't say that. Well, why not? It's why can't I say that? Why can't I do this? Right? Like, and same thing with my faith. Jesus is my cornerstone, right? Like I will be in full time ministry at some point in my life. Some point in my life, I'm like my best friend, senior pastor of our church. I'll be able to go down there and be like, hey man, I'm free. Like I'm just going to work here for free, right? Like I went to Bible college. I want to preach. I want to preach. We spend time in Africa. My son's going to move there, I think, and when he turns 18, a couple of years. I don't know if you met Isaac.
Mhm.
He's going to spend a couple of years over in Africa. Like I love being able to do that stuff. And if I try and hide that part of me, like I'm not going to be who I am, right? Like it's like God changed my life, and I can't deny that. I can't be like, well, you're a bigot because you like God. Well, dude, I'm telling you right now, God changed my life. You won't believe me? Like God changed my freaking life, dude. I do not recognize who I am today because of Jesus Christ. Bottom line, and I'm not like I have a lot of Mormon friends. I have a lot of atheist friends. I've got a lot of Democrat friends, but I should have to change who I am to be around those people. They should have changed who they are to be around me, right? Like you have to be true to yourself, and you can't like. It's so weird that you can't talk about your faith anymore because that's offensive, and it's like, well, screw you, man. I'm going to talk about God. Like God's been yesterday, today, and tomorrow. God's been going. I'm sorry I'm getting too preachy on you guys. Like it carries over to my kids too. They see that, right? Like my son, he's 16, but we put him in college. That's cool about homeschooling. You can do like all this cool stuff. So he's in a college debate class, and like obviously this college is super liberal. Obviously they're very big Kamala Harris supporters, right? So like every kid, he's in a speech class, debate class. Every kid is up there talking about Kamala Harris, Kamala Harris, Kamala Harris. And my son walks up there and, anti-Trump, anti-Trump, anti-Trump. And my son walks up there and gives a speech yesterday. He ended up getting the highest score in the class, 16 years old, over these, like, purple-haired 19-year-olds. And he just talked about like, hey, man, I want to talk about how Kamala Harris said there was no people in active duty right now. And there is. And this is why. And like all of his friends who are Christians as well, are like, I can't believe you did that. I can't believe you talked about that. It's like, why? Like, why can you only talk about one side of politics right now? Why can you only talk about, why is it only okay to talk about LGBTQ plus, but you can't talk about Christianity? Like, you know what I mean? Like the two need to like you need to be able to say both sides of this. And it's like, unless you agree with this like extreme left wing ideas, you can't have a voice, and that's not okay. That's not the country we live in. We live in a country should have a free voice. That's why I love Elon Musk so much. You should be able to say what you have on your mind. That's where we live here, and we're at a point right now where it's like it's everyone versus everybody, and that doesn't bring unity. You know what I mean? We should all
Yeah.
be able to talk and have our sides. Like there was a time in this country not too long ago where there were Democrats and Republicans, and it was okay. Now it's like if you're a Democrat, I hate you, and if you're a Republican, I hate you, and that's not okay, right? That's not Jesus either. You know what I mean? The guy hung out with tax collectors and sinners, right? Like
Yeah.
it's just yeah, it's like if we don't agree, you're a freaking moron, or I hate you, and you're a bigot, and that's what I hate the most. Like you're a bigot or you're racist, like 'cause you go to church, which is crazy to me.
Yeah,
But
which is I think it's interesting. Like I said, as I kind of grow and my faith and am on that journey, I think where I grew up, it was very much the people who identified as even Christians were some of the most judgmental people I had ever met. And I was like, I don't want to be judgmental. Like, I don't want to judge people for what they're doing. And so that was like a conflict for me. And the people that I've been very fortunate to have in my life as I've gotten older who are Christians and have helped me a ton in this journey, like, they love you no matter who you are. They show up for you no matter who you are. They are themselves no matter who you are. And they have shown me so much grace in my journey throughout all of that. And so, like, anytime I meet someone like that, and there's like two or three specific names that come to mind, it's like I want to embody I say I want to embody like what those people are doing, but more the bigger picture is embody what Jesus Christ is doing, because that's who's showing through them when they show up in that way. And when they give you grace no matter what you do, when they are willing to lend an extra hand, no matter if you're vastly different than they are, if your views are vastly different than they are. And I think that's been really cool and has been like had such a huge impact on me myself. And so to kind of hear you talk about that, like I couldn't agree more. I think even if we put all of that aside, like just show up as who you are. You shouldn't have to change who you are no matter who you're around. And then whoever you're around should accept you as who you are. Like it doesn't matter where you come from, what your beliefs are. Like if we could just all accept each other as we are and be kind to each other as we are and give each other grace as we are, I think we could have a vastly different world that we live in right now. And unfortunately, that's not the case.
yeah, and I think it's important to realize that we live in this time with like this mainstream media, right? Like you talk about judgmental Christians, and there are, but I can tell you like the vast majority of people are not that way. But it's
Yes.
so easy to get caught up in this small number and like that'd be like, oh, Christians are hypocrites. Because this guy did this. Because the media loves to like point out this guy who did this bad thing, right? And like I just watched this movie, Am I Racist, by Matt Walsh. It is a phenomenal movie.
Yeah.
But like one of the big points they talk about is like the country's so divided over race, which I think is crazy, right? Like my son is from Guam, my fifth son, and like I don't care what color he could be, brown, purple. I don't care. I love my son, and 99.9% of people are like that, right? But we live in this time where like everyone, if you're white, you're racist, right? Or you're not, and it's like that's not true. And they talk about all these hate crimes, hate crimes, hate crimes, hate crimes, hate crimes. All you hear about on the media is hate crimes. Well, there's 7,000 hate crimes a year in America, right? There's 2 million black on black crimes in America a year, but we don't talk about it, right? Like all we talk about, like there's 20 million crimes a year in America, and 7,000 of those crimes are hate crimes, quote unquote, whatever that is. It doesn't mean white on black. It could be
Yeah.
black on Mexican, Mexican on black, whatever it is. But that's all we have with all these hate crimes. And it makes the whole country think that we're in this time where there must be Klan members running around, right? And we want everyone to hate each other. And like, that's so crazy to me. Like look around, like you might have like a crazy Uncle Steve who's like still dropping the N-bomb, but like the vast majority of people, like, you know what I mean? Like us from like the 70s on, like the most people who are running the country right now, they're not racist. Like we're not racist. Like I could care less what skin tone you are at all. But we allow ourselves in this time right now where it's like we only focus on like, hey, this one white guy went and did this thing to this black guy, or this black guy stole this little blonde girl, whatever it is. Like it goes both ways. And it's really not the case. Like look around and ask, like look around your church, talk to your friends, like are all your friends hypocrites and judgmental, or is it just like that one dude who cheated on his wife and did some bad crap? There's bad guys everywhere. There's bad guys on both sides of the aisle. And it's just so important for us to like move past that as a country and as people, and just focus on like, doing good to ourselves, right? Doing good around us, and, seeing change. I tell people all the time, like we wouldn't need youth ministries if everyone just did their job. You know what I mean? You wouldn't need youth ministries to raise your kids right. You know what I mean? You wouldn't need youth ministries if you treated your wife better and stayed married. You know what I mean? Or if you
Yeah.
didn't cheat on your husband, whatever it is, like people don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
People don't want to hear the problems today are from broken families. Like, be a better husband. I'm sorry. Like the reason why kids are so screwed up today is because you freaking divorced your wife because you're a dickhead. You were a bad husband. Right? You
Yeah.
were selfish and you screwed your kid's life up. Like divorce is terrible.
Yeah.
Like I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Like that's where the problems are coming from right now. Not from like race problems and all that stuff. It's from us sucking as parents and us sucking as in our marriages. It's from us being selfish, us being self-focused. That's where the problems are coming from right now. They're not coming from like we want to blame it on race politics or it's not that. It's you suck. Like I suck. You need to do better in your own life and you won't have all these problems.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more with everything that you just said because, yeah, I think just and if you, like you said, to your point, if you didn't come from a great background, like make the effort to change, like be the change you just see in the world and like make a change. Like you are giving your kids a vastly different childhood than what you had because you've made the effort to make that change. And I think slowly that stigma is going, like, I think for a long time, therapy was looked at as being really bad and like something was seriously wrong with you if you went to therapy or counseling or any of that. And I think the stigma around that is slowly changing. And if you're listening to this, like I am a big proponent of therapy and counseling, and I highly recommend, even if you think you have the best life ever, to just do it a couple of times because I think there's so much that you can find out about yourself to be a better person, to be a better version of you, which in turn I think allows you to have better relationships and show up better with whether it's your friendships or a marriage or a romantic relationship. I think there's nothing better you can do than to work on yourself. And I kind of want to, like, as you were talking about that, transition the conversation, but tie it in. I feel like people that I know who have started businesses, who are entrepreneurs, have been the most successful because of the people that end up, I don't want to say like following them, but when you're yourself, people want to be around you. When you're
Mm-hmm.
vulnerable, people want to be around you. They want to trust you when you're that way. And so I have to think that a lot of I say like some people might not be a big fan of Tricer Tripods because you're openly Christian, but you have better, I guess, more like intimate following than another business would have because you're open about that and people respect that about you. So, kind of talk about how just kind of being open with that has helped you with your business, and then kind of, I mean, I can only believe that the kinds of relationships that I've even heard you talk about, and anyone that I know who knows you like has speaks so highly of you and has great things to say about you, and that only helps your business in the long run. But you don't do that to manipulate people to help your business. You do that because that's who you are, and people want to follow that, and people trust that.
Yeah, 100%. On the whole, like friends thing, counseling. Yeah, 100%. I was in counseling for 10 years. I mean, it's just bottom line. And then I also have friends I can call and talk to. I think it's very important to have friends you can call and talk to who aren't going to be yay Whitneys. They're going to be like, hey, you suck right now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they'll be able to tell you the truth. And you'll be able to take that, right? And the same goes for business, right? Like, whatever. I have a lot of fanboys, right? Like, people who just think everything I do is great. But then what I need is guys who will tell me, hey, like, I'll send out, like, I'm sending out 10 prototypes today. I need you guys to give me real feedback, not you're great. I need people who are going to tell me, like, hey, change this. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be able to take that. Right? There's such a pride that we have where you need to be able to have like people around you that you trust who could tell you like, hey, Whitney, like the person you are right now is not who you could be, and you're not doing good at like you could be better. Like you could do like what you did sucked, right? And like my best friend, like I said, is my buddy Neil. He's senior pastor of our church. He's married. I'm married. We're able to like call each other. We call each other like 3 times a week. It's hard to get together because we just have too many kids. Both have 5 kids, and dealing with life. But I need to be able to call and be like, hey, Neil, like, what do you think about that? My wife said this. What do you think? He's like, well, yeah, dude, you've been gone for 21 days. Like, you don't think you should not do that? You know what I mean? And then I need to be able to be like, yeah, not, take that. You need to be able to take constructive criticism and not be offended by it and find people who are willing to give you constructive criticism, not just be, you know what I mean? If you have people around you who are just like, no, screw that guy. He's the worst. But like a lot of times, I mean, sometimes, yes, that's the truth. Sometimes there's really bad husbands out there or really bad wives out there. And yes, they suck. But like a lot of it could be like, what can I do better? Right. And need people around you will tell you that. On the faith thing and everything, I guess being conservatives, like I'm unapologetically conservative. I'm unapologetically Christian. The way I look at it for business is, you try to please everybody, you can't please anybody,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I tell people all the time, like, and like when I first started doing this with my marketing team, like people think I have a marketing degree. Like I don't have a marketing degree. We crush marketing. It's
Yeah.
it's just I tell them like we're not trying to like we're not Coca-Cola. We're not trying to sell to 100% of people. We're just trying to sell to like if I can get like 1% of all hunters to buy into what Tricer's doing, I'll be a millionaire the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like so like you don't have to like try and appease everybody with what you do, right? Like we don't have to try and like we don't have like Tricer hunting and then Tricer where we do just tripods. Like no, like you give me a gripper gun, I'm putting a gripper gun. That's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Like we hunt, we kill things. We're gonna put that up, right? Like we're going to go more in the photography space. Obviously, like we're probably not gonna have grip and grins like on like those photography websites, like with people, but like we are a hunting company through and through. I'm not ashamed of that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not ashamed to say I'm a Christian. Like every package I have for the rest of my life will have 1 Corinthians 9:24 on it, which is, do you not know that all run in a race run, but only one achieves the prize, run such a way to achieve the prize. That's my life verse, right? Like if you're going to do something, be the best at it. And that's my life verse since I got saved. And that's on every package. And no matter how big this company gets, that'll be on the package. And if you don't like it, use somebody else's tripod, but it won't be as good as mine. And I find that when you make really good products, you can do whatever you want.
Fair. Yeah.
Like literally, like we used a midget in our ads for Labor Day. It got shadow banned. Like there's no way it didn't get more laughs. And we still had our best sale ever. You know what I mean? Like like when you have good products, you can do whatever you want with it. You know what I mean? Like people aren't going to ban it because like at the end of the day, it's like everyone wants to ban Starbucks, but Starbucks is really good. You know, like I get a lot of flack from some of these guys, like my friends in Montana, like get rid of that or that communist coffee, blah blah. But it's like everyone gets pissed off and they want to ban something, and they never do. Like, so if you get mad at me, like, oh, I don't like what you did here, that's fine. Don't buy from me. I'm okay with it. Like, you have to be willing to take those punches too, and like not take things to heart. I think, especially with social media, like, it's very easy. Like, I used to get really offended. Like, you gotta understand. Like, I create these products. Like, every product Tricer has, I create. It comes out of my mind. It's my designs, my stuff. And when people bash that or do leave a bad review, like it hurts me. It really does. Like still to this day, like I don't read our reviews on our website and make my team do all that stuff now. And I used to get really offended, like start going out with people. Now I'm just like, hey man, good for you. You know what I mean? Like you can't let all that stuff work you up and just gotta move forward. I don't know. Sorry, I went off topic there.
No, and I totally agree. And to your point, you have seemingly the best like tripod product, right? So if anyone's saying anything bad about it, like you said, then don't buy it. Don't give me your money if you don't like it. But like, good luck finding something better, right? And that's kind of like the mindset that you have to have when you create a product. And then, like you said, at the end of the day, if you have a really good product and people want that product and that's the go-to product, you can do whatever you want because people are either going to buy into the product just itself without even knowing who you are or what you stand for. But then they get to see who the person is behind that product and then hopefully buy into that as well. And then that's when you kind of have that army of people who are like, yeah, like Tricer products is what I use when I'm in the field, when I'm doing photography, whatever. But I also stand for the person who's behind this because I really trust and feel that that's a really good person that's behind it. And then you have those people forever. You never lose those people, which I think is really cool. What made you want to like create a tripod specifically? Like, were there all these other ideas in hunting that you had in mind, or was it like,
No, not at all. I didn't want to create a hunting company.
okay,
I just, it just kind of happened. So my father-in-law was like 330 pounds. You met Barry.
yeah,
You met Barry. He was 330 pounds, like super out of shape, never been in shape. Like I've been with my wife now we've been together 22 years, something like that. And he's like, I want to go elk hunting. And he had like 1 point in Arizona. And I'm like, he's never going to draw. I put him for this unit, he'll never draw. And of course, like he's the dude that draws, right? So he draws this tag with 1 point in Arizona, bull tag. And I'm like, oh my God, like you're going to die. Like you're not, I tell him like, Barry, I'm not taking you hunting this you this weight. You need a personal trainer. And he got pissed off, like just super mad at me, and like I couldn't, like, mad at my wife. Like, so bottom long story short, he gets a personal trainer. So he ends up getting one. I got hooked up with my buddy Jeff. He's been with him still to this day. And by the time we get to the hunt, he's down to like 280. He lost 50 pounds. Mm-hmm. Still 72 years old and 280 pounds, not in shape. So I'm carrying around, he had this like giant outdoorsman's tripod. It was like the heaviest one they have with all the attachments. He's a very excessive person. Like I've gotten him now to like minimize, but like especially when he first started, he was the guy who bought like all the gear. So I had like his outdoorsman's tripod, his rifle, my tripod, all of his Swarovski optics. I mean, it's a heavy pack. And we were hunting, and I just had an idea to make a tripod on that hunt. Long story short, on that hunt, I mean, it took us 6 days. We had a couple of times he couldn't make it back to camp, but we didn't have backpacking gear. Like, I'll never go without backpacking gear again. We couldn't make it back to the wall tent, so we had to sleep with like no sleeping bags by a fire, freezing 2 nights because he couldn't make it back. He ended up missing or not shooting a bull one day. Like, I'm at 100 yards, and I like, one time I yelled at him, I yelled at him. And I'm like, at this point, I've been sleeping. I'm freezing. It's really hard. This is really hard. Hardest than I ever did. And I'm yelling at him like, you just need to get a guide. You can't do this, you know. Long story short, day 6, the last day of the hunt, man, he freaking smoked a bull. 72 years old, public land bull. Guy shot a freaking bull. I had to pack it out myself. That was awesome. And that's where Tricer came from, was just, you know, I had an idea on a mountain. I actually filmed a little video of it this year. I went back to the same spot and sat on the same rock. I remember the rock I was sitting on when I had the idea for the first tripod. And I just like, thank God the video. I was like, this is where it started, right here. Mm-hmm. You know? And since then, Barry's down to 220 pounds. He hikes every single day, goes to the gym like 3 days a week. He's killed antelope, deer, coos deer. I mean, he killed a giant bull in New Mexico. He's going to kill a bison this year. He's starting to do he's slowing down a little bit. He's like, he's 76 here. He's doing a little more. I'm taking him to Sonora. He went to Sonora last year. I'm taking him to Sonora again this year. I'm getting him a guide though, so he can try and get him it's just going to be an open desert, open ranch. So it's going to be mountain ranch. He's going to have to like hike and stuff. So it'll be a tougher hunt, but, he gets out there and does it. The hunt saved his life, 100%. Hunt saved his life, changed his life. He's like, Barry's literally probably my best friend. Like, Barry is the only guy who has all my pins. Let's put it that way. Nice. Barry's the only guy who has all my pins. I hunt with Barry more than anybody. Barry and my kids. Hunt changed his life. So I got the idea for Tricer on that hunt. Came back, sat on it I came back and made a prototype. It worked. Didn't know what I wanted to do with it. Sat on it for a year or so. And then in 2019, I came to my partners from other companies and said, we should do this. Started manufacturing tripods. They didn't really sell. Lost a lot of money. Made a bunch of mistakes. Hired a marketing company. Threw 25 grand away right there. I mean, just did a lot of bad, not bad. Had made a lot of bad decisions, but still consistently was like evolving it, you know? And then just learning the market, learning the industry. And then, you know, I think like 2021, I created like our bino adapter, and I started working on our new pan head. They came out with our new pan head, which now that pan head, we sell like 1,000 of them a month. It's the best selling pan head in the country, hands down. And then it just blew up. I mean, like literally, like I don't know how to describe it other than God's freaking awesome. I mean, in the last year, I've created 15 new products. I have so many more products coming out next year. I've got like 8 more products. I have prototypes sitting here. I think I've got like 6 patents in the works right now. And God's just so good. He's just blown this company up, and we've literally become the dudes. Like when we first started out, like we were getting crapped on by people and by companies, and like big companies when we first started out were just dumping on us and talking crap about us. And now, dude, those guys are just dropping the bucket. You know, there's a guy who wishes they were me, you know, but like, and I don't say that to be egotistical. I just say it's like, you know, we just stayed after it and stuck with it. And now we've got, you know, the biggest and baddest tripod company around. Like if you use a tripod, you use a Tricer. I mean, it's just the bottom line. If you're not using a Tricer, you wish you were, and you're going to, and you're going to buy one. Like, it's just like, look around the industry, dude. Like people I don't pay, like I have like 3 paid influencers. So everyone else you see who's using my stuff is just using my stuff because they love it. You know what I mean? Like I was just on Meat Eater. My tripod was pretty sick. I had no idea. Like Giannis Patel was using my tripod. And he'd reached out to me. Like he's like, "Oh yeah, give me the video." I'm like, "What the heck? Really?" You know what I mean? Like that's a cool deal. You know? Donald Trump Jr. follows me. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. I went from like never having no social media to being like, I guess I'm an influencer now, kind of, which is kind of a douchebag thing. Like, I'm a pretty terrible influencer, but, yeah, I don't know, man. God just blew it up. It just went from like, especially the last like 2 years, it went from like, I think we had 3,700% growth last year.
Nice. Yeah.
We'll have 4x growth this year. It's pretty exponential, and like honestly, like I really do feel like we're just getting started.
Mm-hmm.
We're just innovating. We're just making a better mousetrap. I mean, there's no one even close to what we're doing right now when it comes to innovation and pan heads, right? And the tripod space has just been so stagnant. It's literally just been companies like going and buying rebranding a photography tripod and putting some antlers on it, being like, oh, this is a hunting tripod, and he's put some antlers on it, and it's like that's we just reinvented the wheel a little bit, and people like it. I mean, obviously they like it. I mean, like it's undeniable they like our stuff. It's pretty cool. It's very humbling.
Yeah, I
It's
think
pretty
it's
shocking.
important to like even what you were saying. You said you created one, lost a lot of money, it didn't really sell, it wasn't a great product, but it speaks volume to what you wanted to create the best product and you kept putting effort into it and you put together or you put more and more time into that to creating the best product. And now, like you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, you were just able to leave and do this full time now. Like this is now Tricer is now your full time job because of the success that you've seen in it, and it is not to go unmentioned or unnoticed that the success you've seen has been A, because of the hard work that you've put into it, but B, because of relationships that you've been able to build. And I have to laugh, like last year when, like I said, last season was my first season, like coming out and hunting out west. And like I started hunting in Texas, didn't really need a tripod out there necessarily. So I came out here, and I'm not going to mention the name of the company of the one that I bought at Shields, but it was just like, hey, this was convenient. And I had to buy so much stuff to start out last year that I'm not going to lie, tripod was one of the things that I skimped on. But still, it was like a $200-300 tripod. And then the next day, an ad came up on Amazon for like a $30 tripod. And I just ordered it for shits and giggles, just wanted to kind of see what it looked like. When that came in from Amazon, it was the exact same thing that I spent $300 for
Yeah,
at Shields. And I was like, and it's was no better or no worse. It was the exact same. And I was like, man, this is kind of crazy that it's just at the end of the day, sometimes it is just the brand that people are buying, right? But I think to your point that like yours is not Tricer Tripods is not just the brand, it's not just Tricer. And yes, people like you and the brand, but like your tripod is different than any other tripod. Whereas I could very easily go spend $300 for ones at Shields and get the same thing for $30 on Amazon. But you can't do that with yours. There's nothing that is even like competes or is competitive with yours because it's so different than the others.
yeah, and then wait till you see what we do to them next year. We're just continuing to grow. Like my favorite people, like Steve Jobs and Elon Musk, and like these innovative people who like continually are evolving and changing things. Like we have some new stuff coming out that is unbelievable, and we'll probably change the whole product line over to it. And I could stop right now. I could literally stop what I'm doing. I could stop what I'm doing a year ago and just been very happy the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's just not who I am. I'm the most like I am very competitive, and I want to be the best. Like if people are like, oh, you have an ego, like people will say that like on social media, like I'll be like, hey, I created the best tripod in the world for glassing. Oh, it's very egotistical. I was like, find one better. You know what I mean? Like if you don't think that, like
Yeah.
maybe it's not. Maybe there's one better out there. But if you don't have that confidence, you're never going to be able to get where you want to get to, right? Like if you're just like, I'm a fat slob, I'm not going to go to the gym. What's the point? There's going to be someone better than me there. Like, no, man. Like when I go to the gym, I want to be like, I want to do good. I want to be the best. I want to get the fastest times. Like I do, I work out like 5 days a week, like circuit training. Like I want to get through things, and I'll because like why else would you do it? And like why would I run a business just to be like if I wanted just to be an employee and get a paycheck and just do like the bare minimum, like I go do that. But like if I'm going to do something, that's like I said, that Bible verse, do you not know that all who run a race run, only one achieves the prize? Run such a way to get the prize. If you're gonna do something, be the best at it. Try to be. Like if you're gonna go hunting, like give it your all. Right? Like I am not a good hunter. Like I will kill a lot of animals this year. I find animals. Like I'm still nowhere. I will never be what Brian Barney is.
Mm-hmm.
I will never be this guy who kills. I'm going to kill some giant deer, some big stuff in my life, 100%, because of like blind squirrel finds it every once in a while. But like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to give it my all. Like I just went to Colorado And I, we were hunted for 9 days straight, and I got up every freaking morning, didn't sleep in one day, and got out there. It was cold, it was hot, it was windy, it was raining, like there was snow or sleet. Like, if you're gonna do it, give it, give it everything you have, because you're never gonna regret giving it everything, but you will regret not giving it your best.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. I think that's funny. Like I had a bear tag for September. And interesting that when I first came to Colorado, a bear was the first thing that I wanted to get. And in my mind, it's because I was solo hunting. A bear seemed easier to pack out on my own than an elk did. Unless if I just got lucky with a monster of a bear, but there's not really that big of bears here in Colorado. And was unsuccessful with it last year, but I didn't put as much effort into it as I should have. And so going into this season, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take a whole week off. I'm gonna be out there for as many days as I possibly can. I'm gonna put effort into the bear hunt. And like I was thinking this, I had this exact thought yesterday. Was I didn't end up putting a bear down, and I drew for a unit that's like nowhere near me, so inconvenient for me to just get back out to. But for a second, I was like, man, I kind of wish I would have just spent that week chasing elk. Like, here I am now. I only have like 3 or 4 days around every single weekend to chase elk, and I wish I would have just dove in and spent a whole week on it. But then I kind of backtracked, and I'm like, no, a bear is what I wanted. So I put every ounce of effort I had in that week that I had to get out for a bear, and I don't regret it. Like, yeah, maybe I didn't put one down, but I was successful in that I saw more bear sign than I've ever seen in my life. I saw more bears. Like, I was in them, right? But hunting bears in the fall in Colorado is a matter of simply right place, right time, because it's such thick timber that you're either sitting water or hoping that they come out of it for a second. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, like I had so much success on that trip despite not putting one down. But it was like, man, I'm glad that I put all of my energy into just that. Because I don't even know that I would have had even that success finding all the sign that I did and being in the area that I was if it was just like, oh, I'm just going to go out here for a weekend and like see if I can get it done.
Yeah, so much of life is like that too, right? Like if I would have started Tricer when I was 20 years old, it would have never made it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not like it's like, oh, I just got lucky in this thing. I mean, it just blew up. It did blow up, but there's a lifetime working up to this, right? The same thing for hunting, right? Like it's just, if you want to get good at it, you have to continue to do it, right? Like I've been in the hills since I was a little kid. I didn't start big game hunting until 2015 because I had no mentors. My dad doesn't hunt. Like my parents, like I got taken bird hunting when I was little by my dad's friend, but that's it. Um, but like you have to be willing to go out there and fail and do it and figure it out, because the more you go, things just slow down. Like I guarantee you, like I found 10 deer yesterday, found a giant buck. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's at a point now where like I'm gonna find elk. Like I was on elk every single day on that hunt. I didn't get it done, but like it just slows down. But you're never gonna get to that point until you continue to do it, right? Like these guys who are great at hunting aren't great at hunting because they just like were naturally. I mean, they are natural killers. I'm convinced that they're just, some of these guys are just really good killers, but they have developed these skills over 40 years of hunting and spending time in the fields. Like if you want to kill a bear, continue to go every year and you'll figure it out. And honestly, like all those skills tie together. Like fall bear hunting, spring bear hunting, very similar to deer hunting. Very similar to, there's this, everything ties into it. Right? Like I tell people all the time, if you want to get good at hunting, start coyote hunting. You can coyote hunt year round. You'll learn how to play the wind. You'll learn spots. You'll learn how to get elevation, what a good stand looks like. And like that transcends very much over into big game hunting. Bird hunting, not so much. I mean, bird hunting's fun, but it's like a transit. Like coyote hunting is a great way to learn spots, get out, and learn how to hunt. And all that stuff compounds into the, like it's like your whole life is a series of events leading up to today, right? The same thing with hunting, right? The more you get out, the more you do it. Like you're gonna learn. You're gonna go bear hunting. That wasn't a wasted hunt because you, for one, learned how to glass better. You learned a spot. You might have seen some elk. You know what I mean? Like you're just getting, like everything's a learning experience. Like even when I was talking about earlier, like losing a lot of money, like I've made a lot of mistakes in my life. Like I lost my first house, right? You can't look at those as like failures. You got to look at them as like, how can I learn from that? Right? They're expensive lessons, right? You're gonna have some expensive lessons in your life, and you can either get pissed off about them, which you will in the moment. Like obviously, like I got pissed off, like with I had a marketing company. Like I have the best marketing company in the world now. I love them. The first marketing company was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't just like, once it happened, it's already happened, right? Like your bear hunt already happened. You can't take it back. You can't regret that. Like you can't live your life yesterday or live it tomorrow and just look at it like, what did I learn from that hunt? How can I apply it to the next hunt? And how can I get it done? Because like at some point, Whitney's going to kill a freaking bull. At some point, Whitney's going to kill a bear. Like it's going to happen. Like I said, a blind squirrel finds a nut. Like at some point, an elk's going to freaking be standing in front of you, and you're going to shoot it. Like it's just, and the first ones are a little bit more chaotic, and then like eventually you just start killing elk, or you just start
Yeah.
killing deer, right? Like I'm very confident. Like I'm going to go to Wyoming. I'm going to kill an antelope next week. I'm going to kill my kid has a deer tag in Utah. We're going to kill a deer. I mean, like I will kill like, or it used to be like, oh, I hope I can find something. Now it's like,
Yeah.
okay, now what do I want to find, and how big of an animal do we want to kill? What will we settle on? It's just a compounding event to get to that point.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's something that I reposted on my Instagram the other day, and it was a video of, I forget the guy's name, but he says, like, the world belongs to optimists. Like, if you don't believe that something's going to happen for you and to you and with you, it never will. So you have to go out and, like, there is just the repeat effort of going out there time and time again. You learn so much with every hunt that you're on, whether or not you put an animal in the dirt or not. You learn something every single time, but also going out and believing that you're going to get it done. You have to have the confidence that you're going to get it done. You have to have the confidence that you've put in the effort to get it done, that you've done the scouting to get it done, that you're going to put in the miles while you're out there to get it done, that you're going to glass to get it done. And if you don't believe that, like, you're never going to get it done. But also to your point of, like, I saw something else the other day. This guy had posted, and he had gotten archery antelope. And he said for 7 years he's hunted archery antelope, and that was his first time successfully doing a spot and stock on archery antelope. And I think that's cool because I don't know that social media shows a lot of that, right? Like a lot of times people aren't showing their failures, a lot of times aren't showing how long it's taken them to get to where they are. Like we just see the big names who have been doing it for 30, 40 years who, because they've been doing it for that long, hell yeah, they're going to be successful year in and year out. But for the people who are maybe getting into it, like we have to understand that they weren't doing that from year one, or maybe they were because their dad had been doing it all that time too. But it's just like learning a new skill with anything else. Like you're not going to be the best at it as soon as you start, but better believe if you want to be good at it, you've got to put in the time and the effort to be good at it.
Yeah, I mean, you look at guys like Corey Jacobson, Randy Newberg, two of the best elk hunters of our generation. Corey didn't kill a bull for like 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And now the guy is known as like the best. Like he's like Randy Newberg. Him with Randy's story is like how long it took. It took him years to kill a bull, to figure it out and get it done. And now he's like, I mean, people would pay millions of dollars for his on-X pins.
Mm-hmm.
He's
Yeah.
the dude.
Yeah.
And I think you need to realize that like people don't get where they are. Like people don't get successful because they fell into it. They get successful because they worked at it.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the like this thing like in the field, like one of my biggest things I tell people all the time, like my camera guy jokes with me. He's like, if you're having fun, you're not hunting. Drew Miles. And
Yeah.
like, but I'm having fun the whole time, right? Like they're miserable because like I go places that people don't want to go. I hike. I stay out all day long. We don't go back to the tent. We don't freaking like I. But I'm smiling the whole time. Like I'm very positive. Like you can tell. Like you can ask Kate. He's like, dude, you're so positive all the time. And it's like, yeah, man. Like, what am I gonna do? Be miserable the whole time? Like it's just like you. Like even if you're not killing something, like my gosh, Whitney, you were out in the field for a freaking week. Like what is better to me? Like what?
I always say you're never going to shoot anything from working or from inside and on the couch. So you have a higher success if you're out there than you do just sitting inside and being on the couch. But yeah, no, I think this conversation's been really good, and I appreciate you coming on, Drew.